So basically for this track, what I did was, for the kick and snare, I just played it on 2 separate tracks on a drum rack. So, real simple. So, I didn't do the sound design for the kick in this session, but, so I had it in a drum rack and I added a saturator and a clipper to it. So let's see what it sounds like without it. So it just made it cut through a little bit more. And with the snare, I think a lot of the sound of the snare has to do with the EQ. I gave it an EQ bump at 244 and I added the saturator to it. So it's here without the EQ and without the saturator. Flatter, not as dimensional. And then this 808 is just massive. This is an 808. All these sounds are in Drums That Knock Volume 9, obviously. But I did a lot of shit to this 808. So I made the 808 before I made this track. I think this one I ran through the old school sampler, the EMU SP12. I did a lot of my 808s through the SP12 for Drums That Knock Volume 9. So what I did was I just EQ'd a lot of the extreme lows. I cut it at about 14 hertz, and the top end I cut at 682 hertz. Then I added this plugin, TS Overdrive. It's a UAD plugin, just to give it more distortion. Then I added another tilt shift with the Pro-Q3 to boost the low end. And then I added an Ozone 9 imager just to make it wider. So this is how you, give stereo width to your sound. So, and then I have a tuner at the end. So let's hear what, guys, this is some secret sauce right here, by the way. Okay, so this is the 808 with no effects. I mean, it sounds huge. It sounds crazy. So I think what I did was I just dialed it back to just make it fit in the context of the track. So this is with the effects. Wow. No effects. And so if you listen to this part of the track, it has that 808 rolling sound going into the next loop. So what I did for that was I just reversed an 808 and I literally just faded in. So that gives it that roll sound. That's a trick to just do something different with your 808s. Then I just added a saturator on that. And in the drums, in the percussion that goes on top of the drums, yeah. So I have a cajon, cabasa, and my breath sample. So I'll show you the breath sample. These are all in Drums That Knock Volume 9. And I added some cassette plugins to it. SketchCassette and Cassette. I love those plugins. This cabasa sound is gritty on purpose. Normally, I would cut a lot of the lows out, but I wanted to give it that tape feel, that cassette tape feel. So I added some cassette plugins, and I added Ozone 9 Exciter, just to give it more grit. Ozone 9 Exciter is crazy for adding grit. And then a percussion roll. That's also from Drums That Knock Volume 9. So that whole part together. Okay, then I have a flute sample and a tabla sample. So a lot of those instruments that I played, the cajon Actually, I didn't play the cajon. That is Fresh Perks played that. He did a lot of the percussion for Drums and Knock Volume 9, a lot of the percussion loops and that sort of stuff. And so he sent me a lot of really dope stuff. This kit in particular has a lot of really dope percussion loops because I worked with different percussionists for the kit. And then I have a tabla from a super dope tabla player, Nilan. He came here and played tabla. And what I did was I chopped the individual hits, put them in a drum rack, and I'll show you what they sound like. So obviously I distorted the hell out of them and auto-tuned them, which is crazy. I normally don't auto-tune percussion. Yeah, auto-tuned it, put some track delay on it, some compression, more cassette, SketchCassette, and saturation. So let's hear the loop. So I played this loop by hand from Nilan's tabla. Yeah, that's dope. So before all the effects, I'll show you what it sounded like. So just like a regular tabla, but of course, I just want to make it gritty. So it was a purposeful way to make it sound like shit. And then I got this flute sample. Wait, I'll play the first part. You can hear in the flute sample there's some stutter effects, so I used Effectrix for that. I just like this plugin. It's an oldie, but it's real good. And for the second part, I just kept it warped and just lowered it by an octave. So I'll show you the two sections. Yeah, so I like that A and B section just to vary it up. And then in the bridge, or breakdown, whatever you want to call it, and then back into it. So another thing I did, I don't think, yeah, this didn't make it to the final track. I just took a little sample from Cypress Hill, Insane in the Brain. I took it out because, you know, I didn't want to deal with any kind of clearance stuff. You never know. But check it out. Just that little thing. I just love that sound. It reminds me of when I was a kid, first getting into hip hop. So I just left it out just to avoid sample clearance shit. Then in the background, you can hear... It's super subtle. Just some nature sounds. So you might have not even noticed it, but I just like adding little subtle elements just in the background that you just feel. There we go. So just those little touches just add so much to it. And then like when the beat turns around on... you know, on the breakdown or bridge part again, I have just like a white noise sample. Just like acting like a crash, you know? Just like a little background touch. And then throughout the track, I just have chants. That's just me, a distorted shout. So with that, I just put a SketchCassette on it and cut some lows. And an imager. I love the imager because that it just adds stereo width to your elements. And that's it. That's the track. I remember when I first made this beat, I just made it at my apartment with headphones on. And then from there, I just kind of mixed it and did some, some weird effects just to get it to the next level. But that ended up being the track in the video for Drums That Knock Volume 9.